You know, when you watch someone ride a horse, it looks absolutely effortless, right? Just this beautiful, harmonious flow. But if you're a rider yourself, you know the truth. It's one of the most physically demanding things you can do. And for a whole lot of us, that demand leads to some pretty persistent aches and pains.
And this quote, this one from Valerie, who's been riding her whole life, just hits the nail on the head. I bet a lot of you listening know exactly what she's talking about. You're told your whole riding career, sit up tall, shoulders back. But when you actually try to do it, it just hurts.
So that's really the big question we're tackling today. Why does trying to hold that perfect posture feel like a full-on workout instead of just your natural way of sitting? Well, the answer isn't about trying harder or being stronger. It's actually hidden in your body's habits and your muscle patterns. Let's start by unpacking what I call the rider's hidden pain. Because I want you to know that ache in your lower back isn't random. It's not your fault. It's actually a super logical result of doing everything you're supposed to do as a dedicated rider.
Okay, so here's the real culprit. It all comes down to years, sometimes decades, of repetitive, often asymmetrical movements. I mean, think about it. You're constantly gripping, you're absorbing shock with every single step the horse takes, and you're using all these tiny muscles to stay centered. Over time, that creates some really predictable patterns of imbalance in your body.
So how does this imbalance actually show up in your body? What are the signals it's sending? It's time for us to put on our detective hats and decode what's really going on under the surface.
And when we look, we find these 4 key things almost every time. First, you get really tight, shortened hip flexors and inner thighs from all that time in the saddle. Next, because of that, your glutes can get kind of sleepy, weak, or underactive. Then your lower back muscles have to jump in and work overtime to pick up the slack. And finally, your mid-back, your thoracic spine, gets stiff and loses its ability to rotate. It's the perfect storm for back pain. And this brings us to the main character in the story, your lower back, or your lumbar spine. It becomes what I call the great compensator. See, when your hips and your mid-back are all locked up, the movement from the horse has to go somewhere, and it gets dumped right into your lower back, which just wasn't built to handle that kind of twisting and absorbing all on its own. This is why we run into the posture paradox. When you hear sit up straight and you force it, you end up arching your back and flaring out your ribs. It's just constant tension. The real goal isn't force, it's finding balance. A place where your bones are stacked neatly, your core is gently engaged, and the whole thing feels, well, effortless. Okay, enough about the problem, right? Let's talk about how to fix it. Because the best part of all this is that these imbalances are totally correctable. There is a clear, step-by-step roadmap that can get you out of pain and feeling stronger in the saddle than ever.
And the roadmap is really simple. It's just 4 logical steps. Think of it this way. You can't strengthen a weak muscle if it's constantly being yanked on by a tight one. So first, we have to release the tight stuff. Then we mobilize the stuck joints. After that, we can activate the weak muscles. And finally, we integrate all of that into new, better movement habits.
So step 1 is all about releasing that tension. We're talking about those chronically tight hip flexors and those overworked back muscles. The goal here is to use gentle stretches to basically send a signal to your nervous system saying, hey, it's okay, you can let go now. You don't have to be in protection mode. Once everything's a little calmer, we can move on to step 2, mobilize. This is where we get those stiff, stuck areas moving again, specifically your mid-back and your hip joints. We desperately need that rotation back in your mid-back so you can follow the horse's motion without your lower back doing all the twisting. All right, now we're ready for step 3, activation. With the tight muscles released and the joints moving better, we can finally wake up the real support crew, those sleepy glutes and deep core muscles that were supposed to be stabilizing your pelvis all along. And the last step, integration, might just be the most important one. This is where we put it all together. We reteach your body how to move efficiently, how to hinge from your hips properly, and how to keep those ribs stacked right over your pelvis for a truly balanced, strong, independent seat. Now, working with a therapist is amazing, but the real lasting change happens with what you do every single day. So let's build your own personal rider's toolkit so you have what you need for daily self-care. Here are some simple, super powerful moves to get you started. A simple kneeling lunge for those hip flexors. A glute bridge to wake up that support system. And using a foam roller for your mid-back is an absolute game changer. This right here is a great little cheat sheet to help you maintain that balance every day. And as you start doing this work, please remember this. Pain is a signal. It's not a diagnosis. It doesn't mean you're broken or that you have a bad back for life.
It's just your body's way of communicating, of telling you that something's a little off balance and needs some attention.
And remember, this isn't about one heroic hour-long stretching session. Real change, the kind that leads to lasting relief and a huge boost in your riding performance, it comes from consistency. We're talking 5 or 10 minutes a day. That small, steady effort is what actually rewires your body for strength and balance.
So, at the end of the day, your body is talking to you. Every little ache, every bit of stiffness, it's not a failure. It's feedback. It's literally handing you a roadmap to becoming a stronger, more balanced, more effective rider. The only question is, are you ready to listen?